Alright, well, if I didn't have enough things to do, I got another little project here, then figured I'd videotape it and show you exactly how it's done. Not a huge deal, but definitely something that needs to be done. As everybody knows, I got the new GMC Sierra here, and these things are 3/4 ton, which means that they ride like a Sherman tank when they're unloaded. You can see that I've got concrete bags back there which help tremendously, but they make it bounce up and down quite a bit. So that's what I was taught years ago, is how you make these trucks ride a little smoother and add a little ballast back there. Well, after doing a lot of research and a lot of discussing, I found these. These are called Sulastic springs. Now, I'm going to do a full installation and review because all I can find is the ones that are sponsored by Sulastic on the web, and really nobody that's actually done it themselves. Now, I paid full price for these things. I paid $350 plus shipping. So I'm putting on my truck strictly in faith of what I've read and what some people have said on forums, but I'm going to videotape the full installation and give you guys a full review to let you know if it's worth the $350. And it's going on YouTube whether it's good or bad. So I hope to God for $350 these things make it ride better, because a lot of people say they do, and some people say it's okay but not worth the money. So guess what? We're going to find out. So I got to say right off, I'm not real impressed with the instructions. It actually reads like it was written by somebody who's not from America. The whole first few paragraphs here are pretty much cover your butt, like don't sue us if you mess up type thing. So that's all this is right here. And the rest is still, the whole first page is just, basically covering their tail. Oh, you got to put a jack stand. You got to do this. I guess somebody got sued one point in time, so that's why they have to do it. But all these instructions are really not, they don't read well. They're not written by somebody whose English is their first language. Like you can see steps 8, 9, and 10. Look how many times they say, do not remove the jack stands, do not remove the jack stands, do not remove the jack stands, do not remove the jack stands. Every single line. I mean, come on, seriously, people. This is really ridiculous. I mean, you could have been a little more detailed than what you say instead of saying, do not remove the jack stands. So far, I'm not impressed with these. They've got these magic little washers that you got to use. And they say you must use them or you're going to have some problems, but they really, really don't give a good description of how these springs or how the washers work. Now, I read through this twice, and I don't know if I'm just stupid or not, but we're going to figure it out together. They only give you 4 washers, but if you look at the little picture here, there's actually 6 or 7 used, and they say you might need to order more. Well, so what I did is I went to Home Depot and I got me some more washers. So this is what it came with, 4. And then I went and got a few more just in case I need more. They're the exact same width, size, the whole 9 yards. So, with that being said, I've got to start some disassembly here. And then we're going to go through this line by line together and get these things installed. They say this should take no longer than 2 hours, and I'm a pretty competent mechanic, so we'll see about that. Now, on my truck, I have to remove the receiver hitch, which goes all the way down and under. They use, I think it was 13/16" bolts. You got to take them off, and you got to take this whole receiver hitch down, because what you're trying to do is replace these shackles, which this is the rear leaf spring hanger. This is your shackle, and there's the top of the leaf spring. These things go in place of that area and create an extra cushion that keeps this truck from kicking you in the kidneys every time you go over a sharp bump. Now, I know everybody says, oh, it's a 2500, it's supposed to be that way. Well, you know what? I pull most of the time, and it's great. But if I ever go out with the wife, that's all she complains about is how much it beats her to death. And that's what these are designed for, is to help you whenever you're riding unloaded. So, like I said, these are the Sulastic springs. We're going to put them on, see how they work. And they say they got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if I don't like them, I can send them back. But we'll see. So I'm going to get to taking these off and following the instructions. Just at least get to this point to get this off, and then we'll start with what they tell us to do. Okay, so I've got the tow hitch off. That wasn't really tough. That thing's just really damn heavy. So all of them are off, and now I went around and I measured all this previously, which is, it says to measure to the center line of the wheel. I guess this just makes sure everything's level. It's pretty self-explanatory. So we flip on to our page 2. and it's more covering their ass type things. All right, so I've got, it says to have 2 inches to the tire off the ground. Well, I got about 2 inches, maybe 3 inches. And then it says now we need to position the jack underneath the pumpkin, right there, which I've got the jack underneath the pumpkin. And then it says to remove the shock bolts. Do not remove the jack stands, okay? So I'm going to remove the shock tower, or the shocks, I should say, so that way this thing can droop down where it needs to. So I'll do that. I forget what size they are, but we'll get these off. Okay, so I've got the 2 bolts out from on the shock towers. All right, so it says to remove blah blah blah. Set of metal wash. Oh, wrong paper. Okay, so we've removed the shocks. Do not remove jack stands. Do not remove jack stands. It says using a pair of wrenches, remove only the 2 nuts that attach the shackle to the right hanger to the right leaf spring. Do not remove the bolts. Okay, so we're going to move that from the right side. And it says remove a pair of wrenches. Only remove the 2 nuts that attach the shackle to the right hanger. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So that means we need to remove, I guess I need to turn on the light. We need to remove this bolt right here. Now it says not to take it out, but we'll just remove that bolt and then do it on the identical side. Yes, I read ahead, but so that way we'll do that. So, and it seems like everything is turning out to be 13/16, so that's what we'll do. Okay, so that's one. Like it said, we're leaving the bolt in there to support it so it doesn't fall down. Going over the other side here. By the way, don't do what I do and use a reducer on an impact wrench on your tools. This will tear up your tools, but honestly, I don't have a 13/16 and an impact that's deep enough to be able to do this. So yeah, just don't do that. Okay, so now what it wants us to do is basically lower the jack stand enough, or to take enough weight off of the hanger up here, so that way you can get the bolt out. So you got to kind of said to let it all the way down and then come up until the bolt just slides out, which is fairly simple. All right, so we've got this down all the way, and what I'm doing is I'm jacking up slowly but surely until this bolt gets loose. And you'll be able to feel, there we go. Come up a little bit more. All right, so that bolt is out. And we need to do the same thing on the other side. And this one, come up a little more. All right, so let's lower this down just a teens. Start over. A little more. Like that. Probably should have gone up a little more. Okay, so now it says to take these all the way up to where you can actually see in here the bolt goes all the way through, and you want to jack it up far enough to where it goes behind the top part of the frame. So if we start jacking this up, you can see as it's going up, it's going to touch the bottom of the bed here in a second. Okay, so now that will allow us to loosen this bolt and then slide it out that way, and that will release the shackle. So then we can move along with what we need to be doing. All right, my impact wrench won't reach up in here, so these top bolts, you got to do the old-fashioned way. Just with a 1/2 inch on the other side, 13/16 on the 1/2 inch ratchet. It isn't too bad. but if you don't have long arms, it's going to be difficult. All right, almost there. Nice thing, all the bolts are the same. All right, man alive. Oh, it's hitting on a bolt. There we go. All right, there's one shackle out. So all we gotta do is repeat that on the other side, and then we put the other ones back in. Okay, so I finally understand the washer thing. What you had to do is you had to compare your old shackle to this one and then add the amount of washers in to kind of clear your distance. And then what you do is you put this up there, and it said to make sure that you put the washer on the upper away from the center of the axle, and then on the lower you go on the towards the axle. And if the lower is not wide enough, or your lower hanger is not wide enough, you got to put this little thing, oh, where did it go? You have to use this little thing, which actually spreads the lower hanger out wider, because it says you have to use at least one of these washers on the bottom, otherwise it causes problems. And you put it on the other side. So I'm going to mount this sucker up there and kind of see how it works, and then I'll let you know if I need to widen our lower perch. Okay, I kind of moved ahead and got the shackles installed on both sides. You can see kind of how they work here. The old shackle went between those two nuts, and then this is the new shackle here. So I'm fixing to lower it down and kind of see how it works. But I just went ahead and did it all because it was pretty much just reversing what you put in. The only thing that I had a question about, which it did not say in the instructions, is, oh, by the way, I only had to use one washer, which you see there's the one washer right there on the lower. All right, figures the air compressor kicks on when I start filming. But anyway, so I had to use one there, tighten them down, but the upper one, you can't tighten down all the way until you lower it down and get it into its right spot, and then you tighten it, because otherwise it doesn't move. It just makes it real difficult. So hopefully that was right. I'm going to go ahead and lower it down, put some weight on it, kind of see how it sits, and then I'll bolt the receiver hitch back on and we'll go for a ride. But like I said, it was real simple to put back once you get all the washers in there, but it does take a while. I mean, I'm about 2.5 hours in, and I'm pretty competent with this stuff, and it was difficult because tightening that last bolt, which is way up in there, is a little tight. So I'm gonna get the jack stands out, see how this thing sits. Oh, before you go lowering it down, you gotta put the shock bolts back on. Don't forget that. You see them up there? Yeah, I almost put this thing back down. I would have been in big trouble. All right, so she's down on her own weight, and it's about a good 2 inches higher. You can't see, it's kind of hard to see with the rims and everything, but it's a good 2 inches higher than what it was, and that's just after just dropping it just a slight bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt up the receiver hitch, and I'm going to take the concrete bags out so we can have a nice fair assessment, because I know what this thing rode like without the concrete bags in it, and give it a solid test. Okay, so right at about 3 hours. From the time I started till the time I finished, I'm done. Got the receiver hitch back on, and it's back down the ground. So we're gonna go for a drive, kind of see how it works. I think it'll be all right. Remember always to remove your chocks from the front of your tires. I almost got back in here and drove over them, so that'd have been kind of funny. So anyway, I'd say on a scale to 1 to 10 on difficulty for somebody who didn't have any experience and you didn't have the right tools, this is pretty high up there. This is a 6 or a 7. I mean, this wasn't too hard for me. I had to break for dinner, so I guess you can take probably 15 minutes off the 3 hours. So it's not terrible, but it's not easy either. And you got to kind of know what you're doing and not smash your fingers in lots of the different crevices. And you got to have big jack stands like these. You can't use little wimpy ones. You got to get good ones that have at least 25 to 26 inches of, 20 to 24 inches of travel to be able to get up underneath there. Because you got to have jack stands and a jack. Because you got to jack the frame up, and you got to have the pumpkin up too. So I hope I've gone over this enough. I try to be as thorough as I can, but I get into things and I just forget. So let's go drive and kind of see how this works. All I have to say is wow. I was thoroughly impressed with the performance of those Sulastic springs. It didn't take completely all the bounce away, but it rides more like my 1500 did. It takes there's a shock that you get in that truck whenever you hit a bump or something. It just tends to jar you really, really quickly because it was so stiff. Those absorb that initial stiffness, and then if you go over a big bump, yeah, you're gonna feel it. But the normal everyday little cracks that you were feeling every few minutes or every second, every little pebble you felt in that rear end, it just smoothed it. So I'm really impressed. Well worth the money that I spent, $350 plus shipping. Very, very impressed. I do, like I said, I'm not impressed with the instructions. I am going to call them on Monday and just double check about the whole washer placement issue. But I think I got it. There's no bumping, no grinding, no sounds, no weird. It's level. The back end settled down about a half inch, so I'm still about an inch and a half higher. But yeah, guys, these are definitely recommended. They're expensive. If you ask me, do they give you $350 worth of improvement? Yeah, I mean, that's subjective. I think it did. I'm impressed. I drive my truck a lot. I spend tons and tons of miles in my truck every single week. So it really makes a difference to have a comfortable ride. And all I was looking for is to kind of get it somewhat like what my 1500, the truck that I just got rid of. I'm pretty close, and I still have the cab softeners coming, which are actually a recall from Chevrolet. And they're supposed to help even more. So I'm happy right now, so I can imagine what it's going to be like. So anyway, that's my review of the Sulastic shackle hangers. I think they're well worth it. Now, they only have a 1-year warranty, and they are made of rubber. Actually, that's how so you're suspending your truck with a rubber band. So we'll see how that works over the next year. Make sure you save your original shackles, because if these things fail, you're gonna have to put your old shackles back on. So anyway, that's it. I'm impressed. I like it a lot. I can't wait to go drive tomorrow, the next day, and experience it. You just kept, I don't know, I guess you don't understand my elation. Every time I was driving a few minutes ago, I kept waiting for that jar to hit. You know, you see a bump coming, you're saying, oh, this one's gonna hurt, and it doesn't. So yeah, good stuff.